It's week 2, dog. We are in week 2 of
Week
the
two
preseason for us.
Week 2 of us, anyway.
Yeah, it would be nice if it was like actually week 2. We're in week 2 of our preseason, which means we're getting very close.
We are getting very close. What, 24 days?
Once we get inside of 30, it's football season.
It's football season. We're here.
It's whatever.
It's time to rock and roll.
I'm with it. So last week we decided to kind of dive in and go over some of the offense and key positions and things to look forward to, and obviously talked about Nico and what we can look forward to based off of how that Iowa game went last year and whatnot. So obviously this week we're going to flip sides of the ball. We're going to discuss some of the defense and some of those key players, what we can look forward to, some spots that we may think need some work, or at least depth in the least, and go from there.
And not to mention, we have a special guest with us today. Welcome, Mr. Brice.
I appreciate it, fellas. Appreciate you having me here.
So without further ado, let's...
First time caller, long time listener.
That's what I should have said. That's what I should have kicked it off
with.
You
should have. Well, I mean, let's just jump straight in. We got
for it.
Some balling transfers, some new incoming freshmen coming in. We're pretty dang excited
go
about.
Ahead, before we get into anything, let's bust out this roster and go through that, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff. So we'll let you go ahead and break it down.
Well, I mean, it goes without saying we have the best defensive end in the country, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Could be called the best player in the country.
Definitely could be, especially upperclassmen. You know, looking at, he's been mocked top 3 in a bunch of different NFL mocks that I've seen. So,
yeah, I mean, what are we looking at? Where are we at here? We got, what do they have him actually listed as?
What do you mean?
Left.
He's a left end, but he can play either
end.
side. I've seen him play both sides. I actually went the other day and rewatched the entire Tennessee-Iowa game. Just to, I mean, he wreaked havoc the whole time. It was great to watch.
I mean, so starting at the top, so going down the actual roster list, we have one of our defensive end, Dominic Bailey. So we have Dominic. He's a redshirt senior. He is listed as your projected week 1 defensive end. Brice, what do you think about some Dominic Bailey?
You know, I think it's hard to fill some of the slots that we lost from last year, and I don't know how much he played during the bowl game, but I mean a lot come out of the bowl game from a lot of our people that are coming up this year. So I'm not sure about him. Kind of looking forward to seeing what Amari Thomas can do this year. That's for sure.
Me too. The Big O.
Big O.
Mm-hmm.
He's nasty.
Big O.
And another guy I'm real excited to see is Joshua Josephs. Yeah, he got a little bit of run last year, but he's kind of overshadowed by James Pierce Jr.
Yeah, but, I will be honest with you. I forgot that guy even existed.
Yeah, but I think, and we'll touch base on this a little bit later, but we're gonna have a question about which guy we think needs to step up, and I think that Joshua Josephs on the other side of James Pierce Jr. is going to have to step up to take some of that heat off, because they're going to throw 2 blockers at JPJ every third down. Every third down. So I think he's going to have a pretty big year for us to be overly successful.
Yeah. So as far as a unit whole, I feel like our defensive line is pretty solid.
I would put us in the top upper echelon of college football as a defensive line unit. Right.
So on one end you have you have Dominic Bailey, then you have Amari Thomas, who is also a senior.
Yeah.
He's defensive tackle. You have Brice and Eason.
Yeah.
All those guys are upperclassmen, have been on the team, have had reps with this team.
And they've all been coached by the best defensive line coach in the country, in my opinion.
I mean,
so.
Can you name me a better defensive line coach in football, period?
I mean, I can't, but I don't follow every other team like I do Tennessee, so it's hard. It's really hard for me to – I mean, I could say through my orange lens glasses that he's the best, but I don't really follow Alabama's defensive line coach like that.
Well, here's the thing with Rodney Gardner. When he doesn't have a job anymore, and every coach or every school or every fan base in the country is saying, well, we holler at Rodney and then see what's going on with him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious that means something.
Kind of piggybacking off that with with these big three up front, their experience. There's a couple oddball teams that we go against this year, but everybody else, they've had experience playing. So they know how to. And they're big boys, so.
And the experience is something that cannot be taken for granted. Like, how many times have we seen, what's a high four, big 5-star even that's supposed to come in and be the man on the defensive line day one and look completely I mean, I don't want to knock on the kid, but look at Walter Nolan.
Yeah, I mean,
his freshman year.
It took him a while to really show up.
That experience means a whole lot. We said it when we watched him live over here in Powell that day when he showed up, and we went watch Anderson County play. It's easy to look like a 5-star against kids half your size.
That's true.
When you step up and you got a dog in front of you that's just as big, if not a little bigger than you, ball game has changed at that point.
The SEC ain't no joke when you're down in the trenches.
Not where the big dogs eat. Not where.
Hey, speaking of big dogs, we didn't talk about the junkyard dog.
I seen him back there on the bench. I see him.
Elijah Simmons, man.
I talk about this every time his name comes up. Do you remember his whole recruitment deal with Pruitt talking about if you can dunk that ball, I'll give you a scholarship?
Yeah, I remember.
I ain't gonna lie to you. I seen that big dude go up and dunk that ball, and I thought, I don't care if he can play football or not. He's athletic. We better get him.
How big is he? Like, for real?
Massive.
I mean, I know massive, but
I would have. Well, the nickname Junkyard Dog probably doesn't come across the desk every day. I mean, you got to be. That's a big dude.
So his recruiting profile as a freshman, he was 6'2", 340.
My God.
I don't know what he is now. But
my God, what an animal!
I just looked it up right here, and it's
a big man,
340 pounds. I mean, he could have slimmed down, added some muscle. I don't really know, but
I would assume that's probably the case because, again, at 3, I think that was the whole thing. Is it was one of those deals like, if you can dunk a basketball at 300 pounds, you got to be somewhat athletic. So, I mean, probably has slimmed down just a tad. Otherwise, I mean, 6'2", 340 pounds, you're going to have a hard time playing ball at any kind of D1 level at 340. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm thinking there's no way you can be as soft on your feet at 340 if you were 300. There's no way.
No, we had some coaches do interviews on media day, the Tennessee media day, not the SEC media days, but we had a media day, and I tuned into an interview with William Inge. Is that how you say his name? The linebacker coach, and he had a lot of good stuff to say about sophomore Arian Carter.
I'm excited about him. I'll be honest with you. I'm very excited about him. There's 2 guys, and they both play in the linebacker position. Him and Peely. I'm excited to watch both those dudes.
I'm excited to watch Peely. I'm hoping he can stay healthy all year because he was supposed to be really good for us last year, but he kind of went down. Right. And what game was that? It was it was really early in the year.
It was very early. Was it not the first game of the year? Like maybe the first 10 plays.
Yeah, it was
very early.
Yeah.
So we've hammered the line in the middle here. Let's talk about that secondary because this right here is unfortunately with this offense that Hopper runs, your secondary is what's going to eat you alive. I mean
games. They're on the field 75% of the game when you look at time of possession. So we really got to add. I mean, we had to have added some depth here in this offseason, and judging by everything the coaches have said in their media appearances, this is the deepest the secondary's ever been in Heupel's tenure. So I am excited for that.
Brice, what do you think? I mean, this is obviously last year and even the year before under Heupel, we were always under the assumption that our secondary was the biggest. That and our defensive line, biggest question mark. I feel like we're pretty solid on our defensive line, but we got some young bucks and some transfers. We still kind of have a question mark, in our secondary. What are you expecting out of them?
Like you said, I'm not too concerned about our D line. Honestly, it boils down to the defensive backs. I felt like we kind of cleaned house last year.
Yeah.
Got rid of some of our bad apples. We're bringing in some good talent, and some of the younger guys that have committed and signed with Tennessee. It should be very interesting to see. One of the ones I'm really excited about is what is it? Turntine.
Andre Turntine,
Andre.
Ohio
Yeah.
State transfer.
Yeah, that's one I'm thrilled to see. He was he played in the bowl game, didn't he?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
showed out in that
And
game.
that it was like the first or second drive, and he had that interception. And
Yeah.
it's just like it clicked.
And it was a diving. It was a nasty play.
Yeah,
It was, and
It was a play that you would see from a guy that definitely has a future playing on Sundays.
yeah, and another guy in the secondary I'm excited to see. Is Ricky Gibson.
Oh, me too. Me too.
A young fella that's ready to get in there and actually do some work and kind of change that stigma around the Tennessee secondary.
Yeah, we definitely have to change the conversation around that.
Was it? He already got a little nickname. What they call him, little RG3?
Did they really? I've not heard that.
I've heard that. Little RG3.
I've not heard that one. So
I mean,
I will say, when I went back and watched the Iowa game, I did hear the announcers say 3 or 4 times, ask the question, why have they not tested true freshman Ricky Gibson any? And I don't know that they tried, but he just played good coverage the whole game. He never got targeted.
you know why they didn't try Ricky Gibson? If you throw your football, you're out there with your buddies, and it goes in the yard, and they got a big dog in the yard, you gonna hop that fence and go in there and get that ball? Nah, you gonna leave it alone. You don't test that dog. I ain't gonna lie. Turn time was one last year I thought could make him more of an impact, but looking at the roster and the way it laid out, obviously this was his year to come on. Looking at the way everything played out, coming in first year, and he came in kind of late, if I ain't mistaken. Did he not come in like after the second signing period?
He was a fall transfer.
Yeah,
so he did come in a little late, but it was going to be hard for him. It shouldn't have been hard for him to get playing time given our secondary last year, but as little time as he had to learn the program,
Well, that's the thing, and it doesn't matter if you have D1 experience or not. You go from one school to another, you got a whole new system, a whole new playbook, all new plays, all new play calls, all new coaching, and figuring out how they do things, and you ain't coming in day one and figuring that out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, since our last episode when we covered offense, between then and now, we have since lost a starting DB that was supposed to start in our star position, Jordan Thomas. So that's unfortunate. He's going to be out all year.
But
I like the but here. Usually but comes in bad situations. This is a good but.
Do you see who's right behind him?
I do.
On the depth chart.
I do. Let's hope he can. Well, he better be ready to play as a true freshman. He's got the body. I mean, he looks like a stud.
Have you seen some of those clips that they put on Twitter?
Yeah,
Man's got hands.
He's got hands.
He's going to be nasty, I think. He's going to be obviously a good addition. We certainly need him.
We did.
Who was it between? It came down to us and like one of us. Who was it though? It was like a tight race. Well,
I don't
they
remember.
made it seem as if it was a tight race.
I mean, he's a Chattanooga kid. I think he. I'm not going to speak for him, but it seems like he had his heart set on home.
Give me any dude named Boo.
Boo. Yep.
Give me any dude named
Who's
Boo.
throwing at Boo?
Nobody.
Nobody.
They may set the record for rushing yards against us with RG3, Turntine, and Boo back there. They may not. They may just not throw the ball at all.
I don't know that they're going to run the ball on that D line much though.
I would if it was me.
No, either.
My little 5'6" frame wouldn't handle it. That's for sure.
Make it a little difficult.
Yeah.
So, after going down and breaking down the roster and realizing now that, secondary had the question mark, we kind of feel a little better about that. We do have that injury with Jordan Thomas, which kind of, according to the depth chart, should shuffle Boo Carter into that starting position. Outside of James Pierce Jr., because he is a preseason All America or All SEC, first team person. Any shot we have anybody else make first team All SEC this year?
First team?
First team. I'm talking anybody. I mean, balling out. You gotta put on the show. Do we have anybody else that can do that? You think?
I could see Keenan Peely, if he stays healthy, being there, but he would have to be really productive.
Okay.
I think he's going to lead our team in tackles.
You got Peely leading team in tackles?
Yeah. I think Peely's going to be the leading tackler.
Okay.
Because if it's not Peely leading tackler, it's going to be Arion Carter, and worst case scenario, it's a DB leading tackler, and that's never a good thing.
That's no.
That means they're
Brice,
getting through.
You got anybody that you might have that could potentially make?
I'm going with Chase on this with Peely, but I think somebody that we need to keep our eyes set on is that Tremont McCoy coming in.
Tremont McCoy, yeah.
The transfer. I think he's really going to surprise us as to what he can do. I mean, you could possibly throw Arion Carter in the mix, but I just think with, as young as he is, he's not gonna be able to step up in that position.
He's young too. He's still got some couple years left in him.
Jamal McCoy, he came from Oregon State, right?
Yeah.
Yep. He is a sophomore, correct?
Yeah, sophomore. So another guy I'm excited for, and we didn't really talk about him, was Jeremiah Thielander. I've heard some coaches say he is a tackling machine.
Well, and even though Keenan Peely is ahead of him on the depth chart, we know the way we know the way Heupel likes to do this rotation with his players.
Yeah, I mean, he throws a lot of guys in there. He'll definitely get some play.
He's gonna get some time. That's a fact. What
about you, Al? Who do you see as the?
Well, I was gonna go with Brice's second pick. I was gonna say Carter, but has there ever been a sophomore make first team All SEC? I mean, that's a tough ask.
I would say
it's probably happened. Those are the first rounders. So
I think you got to go back to like the Alabama national championship days when they were just dominant.
If I had to give a realistic answer, and this was my original answer, getting creative, I went with Carter, but just straight off if I had to go down the starting lineup, I'm saying Big O.
Yeah, I could see Big O being there.
I mean, if he has the year that he is projected and should have, he'll flirt with it.
I think so. Yeah,
for sure.
He'll be an All-American on one of the teams. I don't know if he makes first team, but
so, which kind of leads us into the next question. So, if we're sitting here trying to place players as to who could elevate us, what would you say in order? So I want you to think of this with a playoff mind. Right, so now we've expanded to 12 teams.
Yeah.
For the first year. So if you had to take our defensive unit as a whole, knowing that it is 12 teams, whether you want to consider that easier or harder, who would you say has to play above their level in order to elevate us to make it there?
So this is what I keyed on a little bit earlier when I was talking about Joshua Josephs on the opposite side of James Pierce Jr. I think because James Pierce Jr. is going to have so much attention, that other side defensive end is going to have to produce.
Yeah.
Because I know we all like the James Pierce Jr. stats. I don't know if I see him. He's going to be great. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know that he's going to be as insane as we want him to be just because he's going to get so much attention every play.
But you know what? That may not be a bad thing. If you got to stick two guys on him, that frees somebody up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think whoever it is on the other side is going to have to be his one-on-one and get in the backfield.
And you may line up 100 times. You ain't stopping Big O 100 times. So
no,
if you double team JPJ, one of them other guys should be able to make a splash.
True.
That's why I feel like Piley and you can throw Carter in the mix for the first team All SEC. JPJ, they're gonna target him, and there's no doubt about it. You have to, if not.
he will
you're
eat
done.
you alive.
That's true.
You're done.
Yeah.
So I think for us to have a breakout year, Piley's going to have to step up, make that commitment to try and get on the first team, SEC, and then Arian Carter. I mean, you live and die by the middle.
He's a big focus.
Yeah, you live and die by the middle.
Yep. Especially in this league.
Who you got? Chase? You got to play above their level, not what they've been like. Somebody's like, okay, I didn't know they had that in them.
Turn time, Andre turn time. Well, we have to have a DB step up this year. We have to have sort of a. And I'm not. His name is leaving me right now. It was number 2, jersey number 2 years ago. I can't remember his name, but that's what we need. And his name will come to me in a little bit, and I'll blurt it out in the middle of the episode. I got it.
Oh, that was him.
Yeah, that was him.
I'm gonna go with 2 young bucks, but it could be either one. I think you need either one of RG3 or Boo to step up. They're both young. If one of those 2 can step up and maintain a solid season, I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be just fine.
It's a big ask for Boo to be at that level already. But if he is,
watch out. Though, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, watch out.
Golly. See, this is dangerous for me. These talks are very dangerous for me. Now I'm stuck on 12-0. Ain't nobody beating it.
12-0. It's happening.
See, I can't do this. I do this to myself every year. 2 months ago, I was like, 8-4, and then about a month later, it was like, 9-3. Sign me up for the natty, baby. Ooh, that's a good one. This is a heavy question. This is so now that we've kind of dismantled the defense and broke it down, figured out, who's playing where, what's what, where the question marks are, and all that good stuff. Where would you say, who is our biggest threat? Who is the biggest offensive threat, Brice? Would you say to our defense, knowing, we do have some younger dudes in the back, but we also have some pretty veteran guys up front and in the middle.
Every year the threat is, everybody always says, is Alabama, Georgia, which it's a given. It's a dogfight every time you go into those 2 teams. But one team that I saw within the top 10 of offenses this year was Oklahoma. It's going to be hard going in there. Hop's big return. And
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be one of the better matchups to watch this year, and probably give our defense their first real test before we get into Alabama, Florida, Georgia. So,
and that is that'd be some emotion in that.
Yeah, no
doubt. You don't really think about that, but he's going back to the place where he won a national championship, right? Heupel? Did he not win a national championship at Oklahoma?
He was a Heisman runner-up. Heisman
runner-up. No, I'm telling you, I think he won a national. Maybe not.
This is so dumb for us not to know.
I know he beat Texas. Yeah. That's all that matters.
In the 2000s.
Horns down, baby.
The TU, yeah.
TU,
yeah. Definitely not UT.
Hey, when the SEC was announcing stuff for media days, that they called them, that when they abbreviated the teams, Tennessee was abbreviated UT and Texas was abbreviated TEX.
Yes,
that's as it should be.
Yeah, that's the way the good Lord intended that to be. Without Tennessee, they wouldn't be a state; it'd be like Upper Mexico.
That's true. True.
I mean, so what's your answer here? Biggest threat to our defense. Brice went with Oklahoma just simply because they're supposed to have a pretty nasty offense this year. So knowing that we have a solid front, should have decent middles, but we have a little bit of question mark on the back end, or at least younger guys in the back end. Who would you say is our biggest threat?
So on the Oklahoma take, I have a question mark on their quarterback yet. Still, I've got to see it to believe it.
Who
what's
is
it?
it?
Jackson Arnold, I think is
Oh
what
my
his name is.
goodness, yeah, probably.
I've heard a lot of hype with him, but he's not taken the reins and ran with it yet. So sort the same as Nico. I mean,
Yeah.
other teams are going to have that same conversation. They're going to have to see Nico do it first. And I'm the same way with the Oklahoma quarterback. But if he is to what the potential says he is, yeah, I could see them being our biggest threat. But right now, biggest threat for me is probably going to be Georgia, just because they have weapons everywhere.
Yeah. Well, if Hopper wants to figure out Oklahoma, all you got to do is call me up. I'll give him this NCAA 25 stick work I put on him earlier. He put down 80 on their head. So.
Beat him by 80.
Of course, again, I know that they don't hold a candle to the SEC. I don't think it's a massive threat, but I do think one of the biggest tests is going to be that second game, that NC State.
I agree,
They're
man.
supposed to be fairly hot, and that's going to be a good test on our secondary.
That quarterback, man. I know he's not played high level SEC ball or Power 4 conference ball,
right?
But I mean, he balled out for.
He's excelled everywhere he's
Coastal
ever been.
Carolina. I mean, he was a stud there. So
did they not end up playing Auburn in a bowl game when he was the quarterback last year? Year before?
I think it was 2 years ago.
2 years, yeah, 2 years ago under Jamie Chadwell still.
Yeah. And the one thing about that guy, he's very flashy.
Yeah, I expect him to be good.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get our D line into him, I feel like he'll crumble.
I hope so.
He's never seen guys that big besides that, that bowl game.
He's never seen JPJ. Let me tell you something. Game day rolls around, you see that man wearing black and toting a Bible, you might as well call in sick for the game.
Call in sick.
That's a funeral. You walked into your own death.
Yeah, I was struggling in between the Georgia or NC State game as the offense that scares me the most.
Do not take that crazy. Like, Georgia would smoke NC State 10 times out of 10. I'm just saying, as far as where we're at in the season at that point, that's going to be a massive test for us.
Oh, I agree.
Georgia is going to be 3 times as hard probably for us. But
I agree.
Coming off of Chattanooga with some question marks, I feel like that's going to be we'll know where we're at after that game. If that quarterback is as good as advertised. What's it, McCall, you said?
Grayson McCall.
Yeah. Grayson McCall. If he's as good as advertised, that'll be a good test. It'll be a good benchmark, see where we're at with our secondary.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him play. So.
What? Obviously, that doesn't. I mean, the run game is going to be a whole lot easier for us to stop than the passing game, which because of our defense and the way it's set up, as it is. But the way Tim Banks has it, I can't imagine. Of course, I don't know. You hop on Twitter during a game last year and you see everybody getting on there wanting to fire the man. But
yeah,
what else do you want him to do?
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing what he can. I mean, when your defensive guys barely got the Gatorade out of the end of the tube and they got to get back on the field, I mean, it's hard.
Yeah, and it was even worse given the fact that we weren't as productive last year with Joe Milton running the show. So
yeah,
I'm hoping we go back to a little bit of that 2022 style offense.
2-3 plays, touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's probably still going to be the same time of possession, but I'm hoping that we can score enough to where the defense doesn't matter as much. Of course, It always matters, but you get what I'm saying.
So, now that we've kind of gutted that down, broke down the roster, asked a few questions. Let's get into. So last week we hit weeks 1, 2, 3, 4. Just kind of giving a brief overview of what we're looking at, who we're looking at, yada yada yada, where it's at, what time.
And we're not picking wins and losses.
Yeah, so we're not doing that until next week or the week after. So technically, week 5 is a bye week, September 28th.
Yep.
But after that, we have Arkansas, October 5th.
At Arkansas.
In Fayetteville. I don't know much about that. I know that he is probably on a seat as hot as you can make it, so I don't know why this would be a crunch time game for us if you're talking about a coach that may or may not even have a job come week 7 of the NCAA football season.
I agree. So that game doesn't really scare me all that much. The only thing, we'll learn a lot in those first 4 games we play, so we'll really be able to gauge it then. But I assume that they're going to be similar to what they were last year, which is not great because they lost their starting quarterback too.
Oh,
KJ left. KJ Jefferson's gone.
That was going to be my question. Is he returning? Or
No, he's at University of Central Florida.
Wow.
Where he transferred to. He went to UCF.
So it may be a struggle for them this year.
Yeah, I'm thinking it is.
He carried that team on their back, no doubt about it.
For sure.
Well,
he was the best runner in the conference as a quarterback, and now that was their whole offense, and he's gone.
No.
Heupel just needs to open his arms. Could you imagine a team with Sam Pittman for your offensive line and Rodney Gardner for your defensive line?
That'd be nice.
It would be pretty sick. Yeah, I don't see much there. After that, I believe we had, what was it? I believe
Florida at home.
Week 6.
Florida at home.
Florida.
So I was listening to a podcast earlier, and it was an On3 podcast, and they were talking about their top 25 teams, and he broke it down 1 through 5, and then 5 through 10. Florida did not make that top 25, but the guy I was listening to had a lot to say about just overall roster talent. If you're looking at just talent by itself, no coaching, no scheme, just talent by itself, Florida makes that top 25 team list, and I agree with him. I think just talent, top to bottom, Florida is probably a top 15 talented team in the country.
Yeah, because Sunbelt Billy is Butch Jones 2.0.
Yeah.
You had Derek Barnett, Cam Sutton, Jalen Reeves. You had all these dudes on the same team and couldn't beat Vanderbilt.
In the NFL. They're in the NFL now. Making a lot of money.
Again, I don't disagree with that. I do believe Florida is. And don't get me, if Florida can get it together and Sunbelt Billy can get his crap together, that could be a dangerous team.
Yeah, their quarterback is still scary good. So
that's one of those teams where they can come out and maybe they don't have together through the first 3 weeks, but they line it up against whoever and they just beat them because they figure it out.
Yeah, I feel a whole lot better about this game because it's at home.
Yeah.
I think I would pick us to win even if it were in the swamp. We didn't last year, but I think things are different this year with Nico. I'm putting a lot on Nico, but I think he's going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah, that's what you want out of your quarterback, though. You want them to be the leader.
Yeah.
And, with us playing back-to-back teams that coaches are on their hot seat, both of them are, in the top 5 of coaches that better win this year or they're done.
Oh, for sure. They're also going to be – they've got a reason to fight because they're going to be the underdog.
Yeah.
Most weeks, Florida will this year because their schedule's atrocious. I feel bad for them. I don't feel bad for them because it's Florida, but if that was any other team, I would feel bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal schedule. They deserve every ounce of it, though.
They do. I agree.
But the NCAA absolutely loves Tennessee because the week after Florida, we get Alabama. October 19th.
That's true. With new head coach coming in for them, I expect a drop off. There's a lot of people that don't expect a drop off, but you're going from the greatest coach of all time to Kalen DeBoer, who backed his way into
what was the score of that game?
Which
that national championship game?
I don't even remember now.
Wasn't it 56-0?
I think it was closer than that, wasn't it?
Was it? It may have been some garbage. Let me see. 65-7.
Oh, God. Okay, never mind.
65-7. You don't lose 65-7 and then walk into the job that Nick Saban walked out of and maintain that same level. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
That's
otherwise, if you had the ability to maintain that level, you don't lose 65-7.
That's true.
Not in that spotlight.
My take on it is Michael Penix Jr. helped him a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and even with the talent that you have at Alabama, it doesn't matter what the talent's like. I mean, you got to coach to the end. And with him coming into the SEC, trying to figure out things, and like you said, 65-7, that's rough. That's rough. That's rough. I've been in that position, and I know what it's like.
I don't remember it being.
Head.
I didn't remember it being that bad. But
they were getting dog walked. Yeah. It was awful.
So I feel very good about that game. I feel like 2 years ago when the last time they come in the Neyland Stadium and it was an electric atmosphere and I mean hopefully we can take another goalpost down to the river.
Well, let's hope that we're in a position where we don't feel like we have to celebrate that win like we did last time.
Yeah,
we're going to be expected to win that ball game. Is what I'm thinking about it. So
again, no official prediction. I'm not saying that's going to be easy. That's going to be a hard game. I don't think it's going to be what Nick Saban had that thing coming at. It can't be. There's no way.
No.
I just don't. I don't see it.
It's like
the good thing about this stretch is that the Arkansas is away, but that should be a fairly easy game. And then the Florida, Alabama, and then the next one would be Kentucky. They're all 3 home games in a row. So that'll play a big part. Neyland is one of, if not the toughest place to play in the country.
And something we also talked about in the last episode that we haven't touched on this week is week 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all flex and or not. So that means you're going to end up with the absolute earliest 3:30 p.m. kick. Yeah. So that should have the atmosphere rolling.
Yep, that's true. We don't like those noon kickoffs.
No. I'm getting old. I don't like those 9 p.m. kickoffs. I got to have a Red Bull at 8 to stay up and watch the game, but I don't like those nooners either. So what about that Kentucky game? Well, actually, let's back up. So in between Alabama and Kentucky, we have a bye week.
We do have a bye week. That's a good thing.
So that is technically our week 4, quote unquote. But
Alabama's got the talent to beat us up a little bit, so we may need that week to recover some guys a little bit.
Yep. And who's their quarterback?
Kentucky?
Yeah, he got it. It's a transfer, right?
Brock Vandegrift from Georgia.
Yeah, Brock.
I don't know much about him, but I mean, he came from Georgia. I assume he's talented.
All I know is it is a Mark Stoops-led Kentucky team, so I'm going to leave that at that.
Yeah, but that's a good way to leave it. Hey, we should be wearing dark mode for that game too. So
that is a night game. That is not a flex. So that will be
7 or later,
6 and 8 p.m.
Yeah. So that'll probably be a 7 or 7:30 kickoff on ESPN. I don't know what Kentucky's schedule looks like early in the year, but it could be a pretty good matchup. They're usually pretty good early in the year.
What was crazy is I seen enough on Twitter and SEC Network and all that. I could have ran down a couple of those roster spots for Kentucky and told you about, well, I'm kind of nervous about this guy. I'm worried about this guy. But I literally know nothing about him other than they have that transfer quarterback.
Yeah.
Do they still do they still have that running back?
Smoke was that his name?
Smoke.
I don't think so.
I think he's gone.
So, I mean, I really don't know what to expect from them other than it's a Mark Stoops-led team. They'll hawk the ball with 2 seconds left on the play clock because they've drained 28 seconds standing around looking at each other. I don't – that's really nothing special to it. They got some good players usually, give us a tough time. But I again, don't know. I've not delved deep enough into theirs to see what's up and what's not.
The way that Mark Stoops likes to play against Heupel-led offenses is he – tries to bleed the clock, like you said, keep the ball out of the hands of the offense. Which, I mean, it's a smart way to play. It's just not very respectable,
It's not respectable, and well, I guess if you're winning, it's smart. Do you remember a couple years ago when they came? I think me and Dylan actually went to that game with his brother, and we beat them like 40-something to 14, and I think they had the ball. What was it? 60% of the total running clock.
Yeah,
and of course we also had Hooker at that point. It was one of those 2 plays and beat one of those coal mining hillbillies over the back and leave him slumped over while we scored touchdowns.
We scored a lot of touchdowns.
We scored a lot of touchdowns that year. We're getting back to that this year, though. What do you think, Brice?
Let's do it.
Oh
Going
yeah,
for the gold.
yeah. I hope so, and I'm excited about this year. See what this team can produce. Do I think it was going to be anything like the Hooker year? I don't know. I feel like this kid's got his head on his shoulders, and he's trying to live up to that name of the Hendon Hookers and the Peyton Mannings, and he wants to be one of the greats that are on the wall.
I will if he wins a national championship. I got a coconut bra tattooed on me or a lei.
I'm here for it. Oh, a lei around the neck? I don't know about that. That would hurt.
I was gonna say we can set you and Luke up to get your tattoos
Luke
together.
Jackson.
I'm sure he'll get his face on his
Guaranteed. Nico on his other thigh.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
What's he call it? Mount Legmore or something?
Yeah. He's got Tony V and Hopple now.
I seen the new addition. That's give that man the props. He's committed. He is committed.
Might as well be.
Yeah.
Players lay their bodies on the line every week. Why can't we?
There we go.
I don't know if I'm going to that extent, but
Hey, he gave his all for Tennessee that day.
He expected it. He was coming home with a gold. Any closing statements about about our defense? Anything that stands out or thing we may have missed that you want to touch on real fast?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't really talk about any of the freshmen other than Boo Carter coming in. I am real excited about freshman Jordan Ross, who's gonna be.
Oh yeah.
He's a stud. I'm hoping he'll get some run, which I assume he will. I just hope it's for the right reason, not injury based.
Is that not the player that Rodney Gardner said looked like he was one of the most elite tacklers he's ever seen?
Yeah. I think he's going to be nasty, but I'm hoping that James Pierce Jr. is just so good that they don't take him off the field much.
I mean, either that or we put Ross over there in Joseph's spot and we wreck from both sides.
Yeah, so I'm excited about the entire D-line. I know we've talked a lot about that, but I'm
I mean, because it's our highlight spot. I mean, it's our heavy hitter.
Yeah. And one more thing that we haven't touched on is our leading tackler from last year is no longer on the squad.
He is not.
I don't remember where he transferred to, but he did transfer out, and that was Elijah Herring.
Yeah, that did not work out. Apparently, I don't know what the deal was, what happened, but from the things I've seen, it was mutual.
Yeah, I mean it could be.
It was. This isn't working out.
I've not heard much speculation on it, but I think and not to say anything bad about the kid because he did lead the team in tackles, but I don't see much. Actually, I don't see any drop off between him and the next guy. I think we will upgrade as long as Peely stays healthy and Arion Carter still is healthy. I think we've upgraded in that position. I think if he did come back, he would have been a bench guy. I don't think he would have been middle linebacker number 1 like he was last year when Peely went out. Because, Arion Carter was a true freshman last year. They weren't going to throw him straight into that starting spot.
No.
As talented even as he is.
See, that's what makes me think Peely's that guy is because, they let him go all last year running the 1. And then Peely gets healthy, and that's why the way I understood, that's what made it mutual is he kind of approached him and was like, hey, I was serviceable.
Yeah.
Do I not get a shot? And they were like, oh, yeah, you are. Peely's our dude. You should probably find somewhere that will allow you to be serviceable.
Right. Yeah. I get that.
So I don't think it was bad blood either way. I think it was we respect it, but this is our one. He just you had his spot because he got hurt. I would again just if I had to add anything else, I would highlight Gibson and Boo. To me, those are going to be your two. The eyes are not going to be on those, but those are going to be your. If you're looking for an overall improvement, you're looking there. From the start of the season to the end of the season, that's where you're going to see your biggest jump, I think, is out of one of those two guys.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked much about special teams, but we will cover that in a later episode. I'm excited for that too. We'll get into that later, but I think we've covered basically everything we were going to chat about here on defense. I mean, anybody else got anything else?
I think I'm good. All hearts and minds clear on this end.
All hearts and minds clear.
Well, fellas, we will do it again next week. Next week we kind of dive into more of a getting out of player and personnel and groups, and we're going to dive into more of our. For me and Chase, we'll do the season prediction. So we're going to drop down and hit each game and give a more in depth, and then give an actual prediction and score, and go over that and see where we're at. And then the next week we'll obviously start diving into week 1. We're that close, fellas.
We're close. We're here.
We're there. Hey, we have an NFL game tomorrow, a preseason NFL game.
We do.
What? Absolutely. We are there, son. That's what I'm telling you. We're here. Football is upon us.
Yeah, there's some. Hey, there's football on. It's here.
Football is on the tubular.
Outside.
Yeah.
Hey, as of last Thursday, we are no longer without football every week until February.
Yeah.
It's my favorite time of year. I love it. I hate to see summer go, but
sign me up.
I'm
here for it.
You can't beat fall in football country.
Nope. Not in Knoxville, Tennessee, anyway.
Nope, not here.
Brice, thank you for jumping on with us and giving us some insight and going over the defense with us. So we will for sure have you on again, and probably have a few more guests on some episodes in the future. So y'all stay tuned, and we will holler at y'all next week.
See ya.